Hello and welcome to another video. I've got some juicy tea for you. I'm talking about when to invest and when to not invest. I'm going to go over my own story, both the good, the bad, and the ugly of all the things that I've learned in investing in multiple ways. I invested in a PhD when I became a psychologist. I've invested heavily in spirituality, energy healings, Reiki mentorship. I definitely spent like my 30s being very active in a workshop community and invested, and again, another six figures in spiritual development. And then in my 40s, I came into the coaching industry where, yes, I spent another six figures in coaching over a few years. And so I mostly had very positive experiences in all three of those realms, although I do have some tips to kind of help you to prevent you from getting burned. Okay, because we definitely want to make sound financial decisions. Again, I'm not giving financial advice, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just simply sharing the pros and cons of my own experiences and hitting on some really common fears that keep us from investing in the first place. So, this has been on my mind for a couple of reasons. One, because I'm in the countdown to the end of my Fearless Feminine launch. Cart closes on Thursday. So, if you want to get seen, get sales, get confident, learn all the things so that you can show up fearless, because let's be real, showing up online can be anxiety provoking. It's a pretty intense thing to hit play and just go and put your words and your expertise out there. It can bring up a lot of imposter syndrome, which I'm getting ahead of myself because that's actually number four. But I think we can all relate. And the kicker of it is that imposter syndrome happens at every level. Okay. My clients are like, Megan, when am I going to not feel like an imposter? Well, if you stay at the same level, maybe you will not feel like an imposter, but hopefully we're always perpetually up leveling, in which case, dang it, we have to deal with imposter syndrome at every single level. Okay, so I'm gonna just kind of share some experiences, give some pros and tips, and also hopefully encourage you to face your fears when it comes to business and investing. So I am finalizing my taxes for last year, and I have a huge payment due. And that is in part because I was paying everything off last year. So in 2022, I had had 4 years of a lot of investing in my business, building team, investing in all the groups, all the classes, all the coaches, all the funnels, all the things that I thought I needed to run my business for better or for worse. I definitely think you have to kind of try things before you really figure out what works for you. And so that was kind of my experience. And because I already had a successful business, I was happy to kind of throw some money at growing my online presence and also getting the deductions. Well, I got kind of an alarming tax bill this year because I didn't have as many deductions. I basically made the vow to myself last year that I was paying everything off, that I was, if I wanted to invest, it was that I was paying for old investments, okay? And then if I was going to invest in anything, I was going to invest in team. So I did have a team for my podcast, for my YouTube editing, and my OBM. I also did have like a tech consultant to kind of help me automate a lot of my business. So that's where I was spending my money last year. But again, when I got my tax bill, it was because for the past few years, I had had such huge deductions that I really had some tax relief there. So I think this is not an official tip, but I would say in general, most people that are investing because they already own a business and it is a tax deduction. Okay, I think that is the best reason for investing. And so if you're a newbie business owner, really keep that in mind. Okay, hopefully you're filing taxes, and so you can use that to create a deduction, but you really do want to have some money coming into your business before you invest in coaching. Now, if you're investing in life coaching, kind of like the spiritual work I did in my 30s, by all means, like if you're doing it for personal growth and you don't expect a business return out of it, you're my kind of person. Okay, I've been there, done that, and I do think like personal growth yields immeasurable results. So highly, highly, highly recommend that. when it comes to like business coaching, I think that that is something that you do want to be really judicious with. Um, I have really good intuition. So when I was picking out my mentors, I think I got really lucky in the sense that I didn't fall for any scams. I did have a few negative experiences, and that was mostly in my individual coaching containers. And I think that that was negative because the price tag was so huge on those containers. So let me just give you my little like do not repeat, do not recommend cautionary tale here. So, I had been a few years into coaching and I had been working with several coaches and group programs. I really personally love group programs and courses. Maybe it's the academic in me, but I really think it's a tremendous value for the price. So, I love the power of a group, especially when you're coming into the online world and you need your sisters to give you the courage to go for it and also the evidence that indeed it can work. So I had been working in a few group containers, some masterminds, different things, and I just thought that all these people were in one-on-one containers getting great results monetarily, that that was just the inevitable next step. So, if you know me, you know that my background has been as a psychologist in private practice for about 13 years. So, I do have that therapist bias, and therapy is a great deal, y'all. You can get some massive healing and major results just for potentially a copay if you have insurance. Okay. So, granted, I'm coming from this sort of like underpaid, overgiving world. So, I'm just going to own that bias right there. But I had worked with several coaches and I had gotten into one on one level containers with people. And this was right when I was launching my Divine Feminine Revolution podcast. It was the turn of 2021. It was coming off COVID. I had made a major investment into this program that was going to develop me like a webinar. We were going to run ads to it. I was going to get people like enrolled in my one-on-one. Well, guess what happened right after that program concluded? COVID. It was March 2020. And so I really thought that people didn't have money to spend. Little did I know, looking back on it a few years later, a lot of people were liquid because of SBA loans, because of um, the government help, right? And so I think that I just want to highlight is a scarcity mindset, right? When we have scarcity mindset, it can be true, it can not be true, right? And so I think whenever we're dealing with inflations and things like that, um, yeah, it can be a tough time for a business. Absolutely, been there, done that. And I think there's always people that have the money to spend, right? And so I think really knowing who your audience is, my audience is existing business owners who want to take their business online because that's what I did. And there's so many benefits to online. Less overhead, wider reach. You can create that kind of passive income model where you're recording things up front so you're not trading time for money. Although, gosh, I feel like whenever I hear trading time for money, it does make me want to like cringe a little bit. Ugh, I'm still trading time for money in a sense, but it's just one of those overplayed sound bites from the coaching world. So here we go. I had that COVID sort of like burst, and then I was a little nervous that people wouldn't buy, because of the world was going through a collective trauma at the time, right? And so I was still continuing to invest in part because I had a student or like a small business loan. So I was continuing to invest and I had worked my way up to having done a few of Coach's programs, ready to invest one-on-one. At one time, I had 3 individual coaches. Okay, you would think as a therapist that I would know that maybe that was too many. It just kind of randomly happened that I was on a waiting list and it clicked and all these sort of things. And because I was bringing my podcast out into the world, I was having a big visibility sort of fear at that moment and did want a lot of support. So I think looking back, I was a little bit like throwing money at the problem. And I was thinking like, oh, I've invested this much. I just need to invest a little more to make things work. So I think that is one thing to watch out for. Before you invest, I really do do what you want. A lot of coaches stay out of your clients' wallets, right? But like I want to do this with integrity and ethically. And I don't want people to pay me if you can't afford me. Okay. I have lots of free offerings. I have lots of small ticket offerings. My Fearless Feminine Business Incubator is a mastermind style 3-month program that's about $1,000 a month. There's different payment programs. But I definitely think there is this like luxury status with one-on-one coaching. So if you're, a 6 and 7 figure business owner and you need a huge deduction, then by all means, I think go ahead and do one-on-one coaching. Now, to be real, I am a little bit of a bargain hunter, full-fledged. So even though I had 3 individual coaches, I think I was probably paying about collectively like $2,000 a month for those 3 people. I do feel like I made a couple of mistakes. One is that I was expecting the kind of results that you get with a program, i.e., a lot of information, a lot of like hands on coaching. Whereas I felt like the one on one containers were a little more like a therapy session dealing with confidence. Yes, they were tailored to me, but I think that the container was just not long enough for the amount of money I was investing. So I think know yourself, especially if you're on the beginning stages of business where you're really expecting to see a return on your money. Make sure the container is long enough to give you that result. One person I had worked with all the classes, and then I bought into the one-on-one container, and there was like 9 sessions. Okay, 9 sessions was not enough to get me results. Okay, even as a longtime existing business owner who had been in the coaching sphere for a few years, it still wasn't enough. Okay, and so I do regret that purchase. I wish that I hadn't. I'm not currently working with that person because I did not have a positive experience under that, and it was a bummer because all the other classes were amazing. So I knew I shouldn't, like, I knew I was overextending, but I just thought it would be that good because the classes were that good, right? I did have another positive coaching experience that was one-on-one. This was long-term. This was a more affordable one. I got 4 sessions a month. I've got some intensives. It was something that I could afford, and that was great. I wish I actually continued that container longer because I got some great results in it. So if I was going to give you some just like be careful, be mindful moments, I would definitely say don't work with more than one-on-one coach at a time. I would definitely vet them and make sure. I did have some experiences where they changed sessions on me. I missed a session because I was going to the beach, and there was just, I think, some Mercury retrograde confusion. But when I had 9 sessions and then I missed 2 because of scheduling snafus, like that felt really bad to me because they were like $1,000 sessions essentially. Maybe not quite that much, but ish. So I definitely think working one-on-one, make sure you can afford it. Don't charge it. I really, maybe if you have a great deal on a loan, I did choose to do that with my SBA loans, because I had already experienced as a successful business owner and I had the belief in myself that I would get the ROI. Still working on that piece, but I know the ROI is coming there. So again, just to say, I really don't think it's a great idea to invest with borrowed money. Okay, it can make a great tax deduction, but eventually you will have to pay it, and you're paying not only coaching premiums, but you're paying potentially loan and credit card premiums. So, hello, you're watching stuff on YouTube. You can learn anything on YouTube, and so I definitely think there's something to be said for a personal touch, for being held in a container. But I also think it is a luxury thing that I think successful business owners do when they have maybe 100K to burn. Okay, so if you don't have 100K to burn, then that may not be for you. I do want to invite you into Fearless Feminine, which is a business incubator. And so cart closes on Thursday. We've done, this would probably be like I've lost count, maybe 7th or 8th round. I run it a few times a year. And we have had amazing results. People starting their podcast, getting their first client, showing up consistently on camera, making revolutions and movements, coming out of the spiritual closet, going through divorces, becoming new moms, like all the things that we need to tap deep into our fearless feminine power for. So let's just cover real quick some quick little fears that often keep people from investing. So the first one is loss, okay? And I think business is a game of risk, okay? So we got to know that we're playing the game, right? And I don't think it would be good to invest anything that you can't lose, okay? Because I have definitely had the experience where someone was amazing at sales and marketing, maybe not so great with the actual coaching piece, okay? So again, I haven't had anything super traumatic happen, just stuff that upon completion, I thought, wow, I really wish I would have had the money rather than the experience, because the experience was not as great as I had hoped it would be, okay? So I really don't want that to happen to any of you, because I know that that's all, that's a pretty common experience in the coaching industry. And so I think number one is don't invest any money that you can't lose, right? Okay. So I think that there is a lot of, I had a 100K launch right away, or I got immediate results. And I think people doctor when they are counting their clock, right? Because if you have a business that you're not making money at, is that a hobby or is that a business? So I think sometimes people are working for a few years to build the audience, to post, to create stuff, and then their business explodes and then they start from that point. Okay, that's my guess. So, just watch some of these claims, because I've definitely fallen for good marketing and then gotten into the dynamic, into the coaching container, and thought, just a little less than I would have wanted. Okay. The second one is limited resources. Okay. So a lot of times scarcity mindset can kind of get in the way. That's what I was talking about when I was, had invested a lot right before COVID. I totally convinced myself that people were not buying. Well, people were buying. They were just buying from other coaches. Okay. So I think scarcity mindset is, oh, it's the entrepreneur kryptonite. And let me just say that your friends and family and everybody else who's maybe not in the entrepreneur world are going to have it even more, because they have that programming still intact. Okay. So, definitely make sure you're investing from a place of you have the money to invest. Okay. And hopefully you have a business where you would like that deduction for the money that you're investing. Okay. You can, if you're making, I think it's $500, if you make over $500 in a business, then you are considered a business, not a hobby. Okay. So at least make sure you've made the $500, that you have a client, that you like what you're doing, and then we can kind of grow from there. Right. The third one is competing priorities. So this one, I'm like the poster child for this, right? And so I have still my private practice as a psychologist, because it has been a lucrative business that I've built over 13 years. And so that is something that I'm kind of doing on autopilot. It's bringing in money. And I'm growing this other business, my coaching business. And so definitely competing priorities. So where I'm seeing maybe a dozen clients, I also have to produce content on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and my podcast. And so a lot of times I can be working in the business but not on the business. I do think that that's something where coaching containers can really help you shift out of the grind of day to day and help you to work on your business, take that detached awareness back, figure out what's working, all that good stuff. The fourth one is imposter syndrome. I alluded to this, and I think this is the kryptonite, okay? And this is what we really tackle in Fearless Feminine, is that whole imposter syndrome, okay? Are you afraid to show up on camera? Are you afraid to have a business? Are you afraid to get a big IRS bill? Are you afraid to invest? Are you afraid people won't like you? Are you afraid of the internet trolls? Are you afraid of a stalker? We all have these fears that come up with taking our business online. And some of them are real potentialities, and some of them may just be kind of catastrophization moments, right? And so imposter syndrome definitely is real, and it keeps a lot of people from starting. So you've got to start messy and start not so good. If you've been watching me do the 75 hard, I've been doing the 75 hard badly. That's a judgment. I've been doing it. Actually, I've been doing really good with it. But I have just been doing it my way, right? And so, in a softer way. So I think that with imposter syndrome, we feel like we're not doing good enough. We're not as successful enough. It's really easy to compare yourself to more successful people. But I think definitely you want to kind of like a horse with the little blinders on. You want to keep it focused on what you do. So for me, I had this moment of of not working with any coaches, paying off all my debt, and then just continuing to do it because I found with so many people in my ear, and such huge containers, and such social media coming at me, I was being bombarded with everybody else's thoughts and successes. And, I just really needed to kind of like take a social media detox and find my own voice again. So I think you can absolutely do coaching. You can actually, blah, 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 blah. You can do coaching or you can do business on your own. You really can. And I think that there's pros and cons to both. I think one of the pros of doing it on your own is that you're maybe not going to echo your coaches. You're not going to do schemes that don't feel good to you because you think that it's working for everybody else, right? And so I think these are some things to look out for. And I think you can absolutely do a business on your own. I did my psychology business on my own, okay? I do wish I had a business coach in those days because the learning curve was steep, but like you absolutely can. And that was like pre-internet resources. So I'm dating myself here, but anyway, I think that that is a thing. And then the final one is market uncertainty. We've already kind of alluded to this, but the markets are always going to fluctuate. And so there's a great book called Anti-Fragile. To be real, I've just skimmed through it, but the basic premise to it is that you want to make your business anti-fragile so that you can excel in times of financial squeezes. Okay. So, for example, being in the therapy industry, that is a time where sometimes therapy is a luxury for people and they'll cut down if they can't afford it. But for some people, if they're in a crisis, like that is priority number one. So, that particular career has good job security. Okay. So, I think it helps to be in a market that does well during uncertain times, depending on what your niche is. But I also think it's important to just check yourself because I do think coaching really is catering to just like a few wealthy clients typically. And so you don't need to be everybody's coach, right? And that's why we do things like what I'm doing right now, like a free YouTube video and live stream, right? Because you can get information for free. And if you want, my eyes on your business, that's when you invest in the coaching containers. If you're a beginner to mid-level business, I really do think a group container is the best way to go because you really need to set the norms that other people are doing this too. You can make your business besties, you can learn a little bit without hawking your house. Okay. So that's my little sermon for today. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope I can save you some money. Again, I do think overall, my money investments in my PhD and my spiritual work and eventually in coaching, I feel like they have all made me a better person, which ultimately I'm happy with that result. And it has allowed me to become a psychologist, to have a very, do some deep, deep healing. And also to take my business to the next level and to get the courage to show up in these kind of platforms. So if you would like to join me, feel free to send me a DM or just click the link.